Welcome to Part 2, Registration, Project Approval, and Paperwork.
Your first step is registering on NHSEE's website. Keep in mind that there is a $15 registration fee and that you want to register as soon as possible so that they know to expect your paperwork.
We're now going to go over all of the forms that you might be required to fill out to attend the NHSEE. You can find these forms on the NHSEE website or on the Intel ISEF website. The first form is the Checklist for Adult Sponsor Form, or Form 1. At the very top of the form, you'll find that there's a series of checkboxes that are required for every single project. This is very important. Every project needs Form 1, a research plan, Form 1A, and Form 1B. However, most projects require additional forms due to the nature of the research. For example, you might need forms for human participants, vertebrate animal research, potentially hazardous biological agents, or hazardous chemicals, activities, and devices. Once you get started on this form, use it as your template to follow the rest. The first thing you should do after printing out the forms is to complete a research plan. You can find the research plan / project summary instructions form in the packet that you print out. It will go over the outline of what you should include in your research plan. You should include the goal of your project, your hypothesis, factors that will be studied, how your data will be analyzed and interpreted, the materials and equipment that will be used, your experimental methods, your procedure, and go into detail about every single experiment you plan to perform, what facilities you plan on working in, how your research plan might change over time depending on how your research is going, and then you need to include additional information based on which of those extra special stipulations you might have in your research. For example, human participants, vertebrate animals, biological agents, and chemicals. You'll hear us say that a lot. Lastly, you need a short bibliography showing that you've researched your field of study. We recommend at least 5 sources.
The next form that you'll need is Student Checklist 1A. This is required for all projects and just allows you to provide basic information about you and any other members of the team working on the project.
The next form is 1B, which is also required by all projects. It's completed by a student and a parent, and it's just some basic information allowing you to attend the fair. You'll notice here that there's a box for the SRC to sign. SRC stands for Scientific Review Committee. And you'll send all of your forms off once you finish them to that scientific review committee, who will then either approve or request changes to your project.
The next form, 1C, is for if you are doing research in someplace other than your school or your home. It must be completed by a supervising adult wherever you are researching. You cannot complete this form. It basically asks what the students are doing at this site and how they are using this site as opposed to using their high school or their home.
The next form is Form 2, which is the Qualified Scientist form. Now, if you meet any of those 4 special categories of potentially dangerous projects, you will need a qualified scientist. This person just needs to have a degree, an advanced degree in the area of your research. They'll fill out their risk analysis of your project after reading your research plan, and then you'll need their signature and the date.
The next form, Form 3, is the risk assessment form, which you must complete if you're using any hazardous materials. It just asks you basic questions so that you can identify the risks and identify how you will take care of the risks as you work through your project.
The next form is Form 4, which is also the most difficult form to fill out. This is the Human Participants form. If you have any humans involved at all in the testing of your experiment, even if it's you and your partner, you need to fill out this form. So you need to do a quick risk analysis of what the human participants will be doing during your research, and then you need to establish an institutional review board. This sounds very intimidating, but it's actually not that bad. All you need is a medical or mental health professional, an educator, and a school administrator. For example, we had our school nurse, our science teacher, and our principal. You need to get these 3 people together in a room just for a few minutes, and you need to present your research plan and your human participants form to them, and then you'll need a signature from all 3.
The next form, along the same lines, is the Human Informed Consent form. This is for any of the participants you are using, and it just allows them to understand how their confidentiality will be maintained.
The next form is Vertebrate Animal Form 5A. This just has some general information about the types of animals you're using, and if you are using a vertebrate animal, you do need to have a veterinarian on your team, and you need their signature after they've reviewed your research plan.
The vertebrate animal form 5B must be completed by your qualified scientist or principal investigator and just goes into more detail about the animals you will be using and how you will be using them.
Form 6A is the potentially hazardous biological agents risk assessment form. Quite a mouthful. This form needs to be filled out by a qualified scientist or your designated supervisor and just goes over the general risks involved with using biological agents.
The next form 6B is for human and vertebrate animal tissue form, must be completed by you and goes over where you are getting the tissue and how you will be using it.
The last form we'll go over, which is Form 7, is the continuation/research progression forms. So if you are continuing research from a previous year, you'll need to fill out this form talking about what you did the year before and then what you plan to do this year and how it will be different. You can go back up to 5 different years worth of research, so it's pretty extensive.
Keep in mind that you want to get these forms done as soon as possible, because the sooner you get them done, the sooner you can create a timeline to research and make sure that you get your presentation done in time to practice.
The forms are definitely the most tedious part of attending any science expo, but once they're out of the way, we can get on to the fun stuff. Our next video will be about conducting your research.